Malaysia's gross domestic product grew 8.9% in the second quarter of the year, mainly boosted by domestic demand. The country also saw higher Q2 growth than other Southeast Asian nations, with Thailand seeing a 2.5% growth and Singapore 4.4%. What is behind the Malaysian economy's fastest annual pace in a year, amid talks of a possible economic downturn? We ask Economist Dr Geoffrey Williams.
For example, the EPF withdrawals is I think that's a very important feature, particularly in consumption, because one of the big pushes behind the overall GDP figure was a very strong rebound in private consumption. So if we look at the EPF withdrawals previously, these tended to be taken out by people who really needed them at a time when things were really quite tough. They were losing their jobs, their incomes were lower. And many people who had very little in the EPF had already taken out their money earlier. So for the new round of EPF withdrawals, the people who still had money left tended to be people who were more wealthy. And as a consequence, perhaps they didn't quite need the money for urgent things like paying off credit cards or looking after their income, for example. And so for them, it was really very much a windfall opportunity, which means they could get access to the 10,000 relatively quickly, and then they would choose to spend it rather than pay off debt or use it to spread out over a longer period in order to look after their income. And so what that means is you've seen a different impact of the EPF withdrawals for the latest round than we saw for the previous three rounds. And that's had a big impact on consumption.
He also attributed the growth in domestic consumption to the sales and service tax SST exemption for vehicles until June 2022, which he said were not seen in other countries in the region.